What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Young Money Hackers podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about regional property and as it compares to inner city property investing. Which one will perform better, and is there any alternative strategies we can use to find property that will give us a really good return over a long period of time, rather than buying unaffordable properties in the city? So today, we're going to be talking about some of these strategies and diving into what we could go for an in-between regional property investing strategy, which is something you mentioned before, HD. I found that really interesting.
That's right. Look, I think the biggest pain point for regional real estate investing is that there is just so much, there's a complete lack of information. And that's really tough. But the biggest gains, I think, in Australia, right, Australian property space, is, I believe, found in regional, right? Regional investments are they're like investing into shitcoins in cryptocurrencies, where they didn't go. It's like a low market cap sort of investment strategy, which I think is quite crazy. But you do have to know your stuff, and there is quite a lot of speculation involved in it. But let's talk about what regional investing actually involves. And a lot of us are going to be looking at it from a residential point of view. And what I found is that we've actually been through this information back when we discussed it in a different episode, in one of the earlier episodes. We looked at the regional, the highest yield in Australia by cities, but that same article actually came with the comparison with the regional yield. So it goes without saying, I guess, but the returns of the regional properties are really amazing, really amazing.
And what's an average return? If we are talking about just normal normal property, what is a normal residential property? What can you expect in terms of a yield?
That's really hard to say because it depends on the city as well. I find like Melbourne and Sydney are really sharp returns. Meaning sharp means like very, very low returns, and they're not much to write home about, to be quite honest. And these are the best market leading returns that we're looking at right now. And even in Victoria, the best rental yields are clocking at like 4%, which is like bugger all, especially with the interest rate sitting where it sits. You're not going to get much of a positive return on that. So if you are going to be looking into Victoria, with a cash flowing and a positive cash flow strategy, then you have to look at regional. And regional, that obviously isn't too far away in the book, because you want some level of activity within that marketplace as well. Now, the median sale price is going to dictate some level of some market activity. So, I probably wouldn't go in the tens of thousands. That's just way too risky. I feel like if a median house price is tens of thousands in a city and it's literally like a desert, and there's two people living in that town, I mean, come on, there's just no market at all. But you want to make sure that there is a market. But I've also found that I've actually talked to a lot of regional real estate agents, and it's happening. So I think that's another great sign. If there are real estate agents that are dedicated to a regional town, that's another great sign to know that there is enough activity within the town as well. So, right now in South Australia, for example, Port Augusta and Port Pirie are not the most regional places. It is a regional town, but it's actually very much active. You go there, you have every single passport option available to you. Get a lot of traffic. It's busy there, and there's a lot of traders working, and things are happening. There's construction projects. We're looking at a rental yield of 9%, and 170 in the hundreds of thousands of dollars in sale price. And what's really starkly interesting is that units are more expensive, in South Australia regional, and in South Australia regional, units are clocking in less return as well. So the rental yield might be something that really entices you to check out these regional areas. And of course, doing a simple research like this, where we're just simply Googling best yields across Australia, I mean, that actually puts you so many steps ahead of everyone else in finding the right locations to cash in.
Okay. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at 8 and 9% rental yields. Usually, generally speaking, a unit will give a higher yield than a property with a land, okay, like a house and land. But here we're seeing that the houses give you the benefit of that land plus an extremely high yield. That's incredible.
Exactly.
9%.
It is incredible, but you have to question how much capital growth is going to sit behind that.
That's the catch,
right? That's the catch. And the thing is, but arguably there is a lot more spread in it for the regional towns, because if there is some sort of a revamp in that town, if there's some sort of injection of funds or projects or something like that, then, it may go parabolic. It may go absolutely parabolic. I'll give an example, right? Okay, so we're looking at this article, the tiny Aussie seaside town where the cost of renting has gone up by 250% in 5 years, right? That's unbelievable, guys. That is absolutely unbelievable. And it puts a context, right, into Sydney's Vaucluse. Vaucluse in Sydney is like, doesn't like Chris Hemsworth have a property there, and like so does Zac Efron and everything? Like it's a really expensive part of town. You get
told me that.
You got the Sydney average.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, Sydney's Vaucluse is a very luxury suburb, very expensive suburb, and there's a lot of property rent for their rent as well, because it's a very vibrant marketplace, right? We're talking 10 plus million, 20 plus, $30 million properties there. And the rents increased only 55% over the last 5 years. Right? And we're looking at this small town that's gone up 250% in 5 years in rent. Now, that means that your cash flow is going up by 250%. Then that obviously means that your capital very much likely would have followed that, which is unreal. So where is it? It's in South Australia, in this little town called Port Elliot. It's 84 kilometers south of Adelaide, which means you can drive there within an hour and a bit.
Yep.
Within Adelaide, which is really close. And it talks about why there's been a skyrocket of, there's a lifestyle, and, the Airbnb market there has absolutely exploded. I've done a lot of research into the place as well. So the regionals can be a very dangerously good place of income. Really dangerously good place of income, and a lot of uplift in capital growth. How do you spot them? Well, that's literally anyone's game. And some of the things that I'm looking at right now is obviously, we don't want to look into infrastructure and obviously proximity to town and everything else. But for example, Waialae, South Australia is another interesting town, is because there's a huge hydrogen power plant that's going to open up there. Okay, it's going to be the biggest hydrogen power plant in the world. Now, is it definitely going ahead, or is this some sort of marketing PR stunt so that these politicians get up for it? Well, how are we to know? We have no idea. But in that area, we're looking at properties that are getting sold, 101.5 hectares that are clocking in. And this property here is, for example, going for about $300,000 to $400,000. Yeah, I know that's very cheap. But the problem is that as young money activists, how do we then strategize for a purchase like that, where there's no income, where there's no property, it's just a land grab? So it comes with a lot of catches, and you need to have quite a lot of buffer to jump into something like this. So finally,
Well, really quick, guys, property investing can feel like an extremely overwhelming process because it's the biggest financial decision most of us will ever make. That's why we've developed these property investing calculators that are extremely easy to use. All you have to do is put in your numbers and it will tell you if your property investment is profitable or not. But that's not all. We also have a mentorship experience.
And that's right, we want to share with you all the juicy details through Young Money Academy, where you can learn step by step on how you can see yourself through to that end goal where you're profitable on all your property investments. We also have free resources available, so check them all out at youngmoneyhackers.com. Now back to the podcast.
I want to talk about that in-between strategy, okay? In-between strategy that you talked about at the beginning. Yeah, it's really interesting. So we know that Geelong absolutely just popped off. If you don't know what's happened to Geelong, go look at the median house profiles, do your own research, have a look at it on Google. All right, guys, this is an interactive podcast. Whatever we talk about, I want you to go and put it in practice. We know that Melbourne is a popping suburb as well. Yeah, you might have heard. Okay, Melbourne is a little town in Australia, maybe. And what you're seeing here is that if you just look at the satellite as well, okay, that there's a whole bunch of action going on here and a whole bunch of action going on in Melbourne, but there's a whole bunch of nothing happening in between. So recently what's happened was there's a whole bunch of properties and there's been a massive boom in this little place called Wyndham Vale. Okay. And if you zoom into it, you can actually see that a lot of these houses are newly developed properties. Okay. And almost all economic activities centers around around residential demand. Okay. If you have residents living in there, then there's going to be jobs there. If there's going to be jobs there, then there's going to be places where people spend money there. Then there's retail, groceries, entertainment. That will inevitably follow. And as that follows, it's going to attract more population into the area. So Wyndham Vale would have been a fantastic opportunity for you to get into it. Now, all of these developments, when they were getting announced, it would have been announced publicly. They would have said, it would have been on the council website. Like, hey, council website, we're developing, 100, 200, 300 divisions. And and that would have been a public announcement. And that's something that you could have kept an eye on. And when that's coming into picture, you can then go into Wyndham Vale and buy yourself a house. And the median price of Wyndham Vale has obviously increased because of that. And Wyndham Vale, before all of this happening, would have been nothing Melbourneian youngsters would have looked at as a possible and a viable investment. And that's why this strategy works so wonderfully well. This in-between strategy, in between two locations, right? We're also looking at a commercial property demand absolutely popping off. So Bacchus Marsh, Ballarat is a pretty big-ish town, probably not as big as Geelong, but Bacchus Marsh and obviously Melton is one of the connecting towns into your journey into Ballarat. And so Melton is actually one of the most interesting suburbs ever. They have some commercial spaces that they're selling at some really high returns as well, returns that you cannot find in Melbourne. And so right off the bat, I think that's a really good opportunity. Now, commercial property is very expensive. Nothing that I would expect young money hackers to be able to afford, to be quite honest. But the strategy that we're looking at in Wyndham Vale, I mean, I was researching Wyndham Vale, Hoppers Crossing, Werribee South, these sort of areas, and we're looking at properties that are really dilapidated, like 600-700 square meters for $400,000, that you can easily value at up to $600,000-700,000, build that $50,000-100,000 equity. It's not that hard to do. And the good thing about these kind of in-between suburbs is that if you get a property literally out in Woodport, the problem is finding trades. How are you going to find the right tradesman to come in and give you the best pricing and on-time pricing, on-time servicing, that you'll be able to achieve those uplift goals that you want to have in place? So that's why it's so important that you actually have good access to trade. That when you're in these locations, you still are going to have those access to trades without having too much compromise. So I'd say that's another wonderful strategy. If you are a youngster living in Melbourne, buying properties within Melbourne is so expensive. Glen Waverley, median house price is sitting at bloody $1.2-1.5 million for a terrace home. It is unbelievable. But these kind of gems are hidden and available in almost every state across Australia. Yeah. So have your eyes open. Don't just look at an area because everyone's talking about it. Oh, look, this area is up and coming. Yeah, like in Melbourne, St Kilda's coming. Who can afford a property in St Kilda? Come on, right? What's it called in Perth? You tell me. What do you find in Perth? What's an up and coming suburb in Perth? Or the youngsters?
I mean, an up and coming suburb. Oh my gosh.
Because we call it up suburbs.
Or are we talking about just like half an hour from the CBD? What do you mean, like?
No. Like we call it up and coming suburb, but by the time it's tabled on a discussion, it's already come up.
Oh, okay.
And it's not on coming; it's already there. You know what I mean? It's too expensive. Yeah. Median house price already hit above $801 million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then those aren't the areas that you're looking for, but you're looking at these pockets of dips, right? Pockets of dips where you go, okay, here's an opportunity, and I think just keeping your eyes peeled on those opportunities, I think, is what's gonna then give you that.
There's a few in Perth that do come to mind, like Cloverdale, like Bedford. There's a few other ones. You know, they are, in my opinion, some of the best suburbs to get into right now. Just from my personal opinion, you get a lot of land. Yeah. They're not right in, like they're not like Mount Lawley, which is right, in the heart, close to the CBD, with all the cafes around. People love that's like the cool area. People love that area. But it's like $200,000 more just for a different address. But
exactly.
2 minutes the other way, you get the different address. You're getting a far better deal, in my opinion.
Exactly right. I mean, just looking at the satellite on Perth as well. Like Perth is in pain because it can't grow fast enough. Like Perth is just one of those cities, man. Like I just look at Perth and I go, that is opportunity town, right? There's cash flow town right there.
Well, it has
so many things.
Yeah, I mean, investors from all over Australia are looking in Perth right now, even globally.
Yeah,
are looking at
exactly. It's unbelievable, and like I'm looking at like this image where like there's this major highway and there's a whole bunch of dwellings there, and then like the dwellings like border on this road, and then on the other side of the road is just this crazy amount of abundance of land, like waiting to be developed, just this green field of just opportunity. And I think that's the most exciting part about Perth as well. Now, today's topic is about regionals, but yeah, those in-between strategies I think are one of the best strategies that a lot of young people can jump into. You may also have some access to some existing properties, like that's within your family and whatnot. If you have a regional lifestyle property and you got an abundance of land, I would say go and put some granny flats out and run an Airbnb. I think, oh, the amount of money you can make out of it.
Yeah, that's probably one of the fastest ways to generate cash flow.
So what we should do as well is like, we should like, another great investment I think in regional is like, is investing into like holiday parks and like caravan parks, which makes so much money. Right, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We should like young money hackers. We should like band together, like good.
I know.
Let's like 20 grand each, and like bloody go and buy something crazy.
Build a syndicate. Let's put our own syndicate. Imagine.
We all syndicate together. Right? I reckon. Imagine that. I think it's about around the corner. If you're interested, make sure you drop us an email, follow us on our socials, and drop us a comment. And let's get you part in.
Like for real.
And we're gonna talk some deals, baby.
Yeah. That's exciting. I'm excited.
Should we wrap up there? Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. This is the show, Young Money Hackers. If everyone does, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Check us out on Spotify. Watch us on video on YouTube. Actually, you can watch us on video on Spotify as well. We'll soon be available on Apple Podcasts as well. Thanks for tuning in. Go and check out youngmoneyhackers.com, and we will see you next time.
Cheers, guys.